We're going back to an ingredient that we used before. We actually used it in our last class, and I discovered something from the ingredient as a byproduct that is another great sort of use of the ingredients. So you guys remember our split peas, green split peas? I was talking to Stephanie. I think this is going to be the future again. We're going to get back to a lot of these dried pulses, a lot of these great ingredients. You know, they're affordable. Lots of great nutrition in this, and I think they're delicious. So last class, if you weren't here, we ground the peas into flour, and we used the pea flour for a recipe. Well, some of the byproduct of that pea flour are the pieces that didn't fully break down. And those pieces are great to use almost as like a mock rice or cornmeal to create some really, really great creamy dishes. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna pulse this, and so we break it down, and it's really easy to do. And they make a really nice creamy split pea, almost like a risotto out of it.
So yeah, again, split peas, great source of protein. Right? So sometimes, you know, you have difficulty chewing or swallowing, or you have a different, you know, taste in your mouth and you just don't feel like eating. So again, kind of boosting that nutrition quality of the meal with adding in some plant-based proteins. So that could be dried split peas, but could also be beans or legumes is a great way. So for 3/4 of a cup cooked, you're getting about 12 grams of protein. So that's good, and you're also getting some fiber and other types of phytonutrients as well.
Okay, so we're going to start off with a little bit of onion and garlic, and then I'll show you the split peas in a second. So just in a medium saute pan over medium heat, we're going to use a little bit of olive oil. This is coming out of a very slow spout, so it doesn't look, it's more than it is.
Yeah.
The spout is good. It's very convenient. Yeah. So warming this up. Once it starts to shimmer a little bit, we can even throw an onion in, and we use our senses. So don't hear it
Not
yet. Okay, it's coming. So we're gonna add a little bit of onion, chopped onion, and I'm gonna add a couple cloves of garlic, and we're going back to the rasp because this is such a great tool to mince not only our zest, or remove our zest, but also to take off or to puree the garlic.
Ah, hear it.
So I'm going to do cloves. Stephanie hears it, which means
Ready.
It's ready. So 2 cloves. I love garlic. I put more if you guys were here. So we're going to put a little bit of onion in there, and that's a good sound. So we got a nice gentle heat. Remember, if it's screaming at you, it is too hot. Reduce it.
Yeah.
I'm going to add the minced garlic in here as well.
Yeah.
And again, I'm using a medium heat. I don't want to actually get too much color on the onions and the garlic, especially when garlic is minced this small. It can burn pretty fast. So I've got a nice medium gentle heat, and what we're doing is sweating, and we just want the onions to soften until they're somewhat translucent.
Yeah.
A little bit of color is okay, but we don't want too much color.
Yeah.
So warming that up.
You know, again, if you're experiencing a bland taste, add more garlic, you know, add more onion. You can also do, other herbs and spices as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, garlic is not for everyone too. Some people can't tolerate garlic either, right? So don't put it in.
Right.
You gotta use what's good for you. So onions and garlic sweating away. Now I'm gonna show you how we're gonna break down these green peas. Someone doesn't like the garlic. So green peas, split peas, you can buy them split like this. And what we're doing is just a regular blender. I don't need like an $800 blender. This is a regular blender. It works even in a coffee grinder. And I'll put as much as I need. I'm using about 3/4 of a cup of ground, which would be about a cup of its split. Okay, so I'll put about a cup in. Lid on. Remember to put even the smallest crack. I was shooting peas out the side of it yesterday, so. Turn it on. You can give it a shake, but I can already see it breaking up.
Yeah, it looks good.
Let me see. Ooh. Some of the flour is going to come out, right?
Magic.
And so I can even go a little bit more, but you can already start to see, trying to get the, maybe like this, right up there. We kind of got it.
Yeah, you still get some grits.
Yeah. So what I want is almost like the size of like half a grain of rice. This is really small. I don't know if you guys are going to see this, but it's pretty tiny. Yeah. And I also get some of that pea flour too, which is going to help to thicken up and add almost like a starch and this natural starch and thicken up and make it really nice and creamy. There's another reason we're doing this. It's not just because we're trying to be very chefy and fancy.
Trendy.
By breaking it up this small, what are we also doing to the cooking time? Yes, yeah, we're almost cutting it in half actually. So split peas in its whole nature, like you're making split pea soup, it could take up to an hour to cook until it's nice and soft. This broken down like this will take no longer than 30 minutes, even like less, like 25 minutes, depending on the size. So we're making it a little bit faster as well.
And remember, again, everybody's different. Everybody has different types of textures that work for them at that moment. So I encourage you to experiment with them. So if, you know, this isn't, you need it maybe a little bit more softer or pureed, like the pieces you can't chew adequately or not the way that you used to be able to, then grind it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So the ground pieces are not gonna, I added too much color on this because I wasn't paying attention. But we're gonna put our peas right into this pan. Make sure you get that flour there too. You guys start to smell the peas, the green peas. A little bit of cinnamon hits that hot pan and you get this beautiful, nice green, rich green color. It's fantastic. And what you wanna have also simmering on the side is either some stock. If you want to add some more flavor, even water will do. You know, again, it's up to you. If you want to add more flavor, you can definitely use a chicken stock, a vegetable stock. If you're making it from scratch, fantastic. We have some fantastic recipes on our website to make vegetable stock, chicken stock, beef stock from scratch. But if you're looking for a store-bought, what are we looking for?
You could use, so like if you're having a taste change and you actually have a lot of like salty taste in your mouth, then you want to reduce the type of salt that you're intaking, right? So having a homemade stock, great decision. If you are looking at a store-bought one, when you look at the percent daily value, you want to make sure that it's less than 15% per serving. Or, you know, looking at the package saying no added salt, reduced salt, sodium-free, whatnot. That's a really good way to check. And these days you could find chicken broth, beef broth, vegetable broth at a lower sodium, right? And it's also good for, it also helps, you know, with hypertension and blood pressure. So taking a look at that as well.
The easiest way to honestly transform regular water into something a little more flavorful, and this was actually Stephanie's ask, she's like, put some more vegetables.
We need vegetables.
So I think the easiest way to add more vegetables is to look in your frozen foods aisle and get frozen spinach, which I think a lot of us are pretty familiar with, and maybe we don't use it as much anymore because we don't know what to do with frozen spinach. I think it's a fantastic ingredient to use. It's already chopped up for you, which is great. And all I do is take these frozen blocks, and if it's stock, great. Even if it's just water, just throw the frozen blocks of spinach as your stock or water is simmering on the side, and it's gonna add some more flavor to that broth. And it's going to break down, and we're going to incorporate the spinach as we ladle the liquid into the green peas. So we're getting more spinach, so check box off of Stephanie's list. But we're getting some more flavor in there too, and we're getting some really nice vibrant green color.
Yes,
frozen
I was going to say, we're keeping in the green theme.
Yeah, frozen spinach has been blanched already to lock in that green color. So when you add it to your dish like this, it's going to be really nice and vibrant and green. So what I'm doing here is just adding it in. I don't have to be as gentle as if I'm making a risotto and I'm constantly stirring it over the pot. But what I want to do is simmer it And every once in a while, just run through it with a spoon. The peas are going to absorb the liquid, depending on your heat, maybe a little faster or slower. So you just keep an eye on it, and if it's fully absorbed the liquid, just add more. And then after, you can even add all of it and just let it simmer away. Just make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom, because the peas will sometimes do that because they're so small. But once the peas are nice and tender and soft, which is about 25 minutes or so, it's done. And then what I like to do is just, again, talking about flavor, and if you need added calories, we add some goat cheese to that and some sun-dried tomatoes, and make it really nice and creamy. And then you get a beautiful...
You cook it?
You just stir it through at the end.
Yeah,
just
and
stir
it
it through at the
also,
end.
you know, gives some more taste, right? And again, these days you could find goat cheese that's already kind of flavored with black pepper, or, you know, sun-dried tomato. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the cranberries necessarily would work in this specific dish, but you know that those are options that, you know, to enhance the flavor of whatever, whatever you're having.
Is that the soup?
So this is, I added a little more liquid, but this is almost like, this is the way we want to serve, almost like a risotto.
Okay.
And what happens is, as it sits, as it cools, this is gonna seize up a little bit more.
Yeah,
That's one thing with risottos. If it's too dry in the pan, once it sits on the plate, forget it. It'll dry up, it's done. Exactly. So this is this beautiful, creamy, really nice texture.
And that's already got the sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah, so I put it in right at the end. I'll put a little bit.
It looks like you have porcini.
Yeah, no porcini, no. Just sun-dried tomato, and then the spinach, frozen spinach is great on it.
Yeah.
So add a little bit of goat cheese.
And again, if this kind of, I mean, you know, this one is more of a kind of it's a soft, but you don't have to chew. But if that it's still the texture needs to be pureed a little bit more, then go ahead and you can make it more into like a thicker soup almost type of texture.
We'll do both, actually. So a little bit of goat cheese, a little bit of olive oil. I know I have some more fresh herbs here. We'll throw the fresh herbs on top. And so like Stephanie said, so this is soft, it's creamy, but still a little bit of texture.
Yeah, yeah, and it's moist, so for those experiencing a dry mouth, you know, you're getting something that's a little bit more liquidy. So stews, soups, those are all great options as well.
Yeah, and then, like Stephanie mentioned, if we need it pureed, and it's something a little different than a soup too, in that form, which is nice. But if we need it pureed, you can just throw it in the blender and add a little more stock if needed, depending on the texture you're looking for. And we're gonna throw it on low. And if you need to pass it to make sure that you're removing all the textures, then you just get a sieve after a fine sieve and just put it through there so that it's really, really smooth. But here we have this.
And if, you know, you were on, let's say, a full liquid diet, you would, and then ready to start solid foods, you talk to your healthcare professional first and then proceed on to kind of the more solid foods, but at a softer texture, depending on where you're at.
And you could freeze that.
Absolutely, you could freeze it, yeah. And here the goat cheese should melt through as well, so you can still probably add a little bit on top and stir it through.
Yum.
And so same dish, but two different textures depending on what you want there.
Good.
So yeah, there we go. Another great use for our split peas.